What's happening? We're back for Chattin Pony with Paddy The Baddy. Got me boy here today. You know, we've had a good weekend. So introduce yourself, fella. I always do that. Get people to introduce themselves.
My name is Steve-O Glover. I don't think I've ever introduced myself on a podcast like that. But I've got a new book coming out next month. And as an author, it's Steven with a PH, and then in quotes, Steve-O Glover.
So where did Steve-O come from then?
It came from just me being a fucking maniac, dude. Like, I was in college at the University of Miami, and I very quickly failed in every way that one can fail. I was kicked within 2 weeks of class starting. I had my room raided and lots of marijuana and alcohol confiscated, and I was placed on final disciplinary probation within 2 weeks of class starting, my very first year. And I went on to be ejected from the dorms, and I had failed my classes. I dropped out, and then I just became this vagrant, kind of living on the campus. And I was a staple at the campus college keg parties, you know. Like, there's like on the weekends that students would let their hair down, and I'd be there like jumping off balconies and hanging from rooftops, and like there was just this dynamic of drunk people at parties sort of screaming, and me drawing all of the attention to myself. It just kind of turned into Steve-O, you know. Like, it was just drunk people screaming was what the origin of Steve-O was. And I was really determined to forge a career as a crazy famous stuntman. And I'm talking back, like, this is something I committed to in 1993. And by 1996, I was getting like some really wild footage, and I thought, man, I might actually, probably more likely that I'll become recognized and achieve some fame after I die. But man, I'm gonna film. And I was like, I thought, you know, maybe I'm gonna have an actual career. So I started to wonder, do I want to have a career as Steve-O? Is that something that's just kind of corny? Is that something that like people could take me seriously? Like, am I shooting myself in the foot if I'm going to call myself Steve-O? Should I go back to my Steve Glover? And I ended up in the first thing I did in front of an audience of hundreds of people was a radio station contest. It was like a freak of nature talent contest hosted by the radio station. And I called them up and I said, my name's Steve-O, the alcoholic gymnast. And for my performance, I want to like get visibly drunk in front of the audience, just drinking like the most obnoxious amount of alcohol that you can't even fucking believe it. And once there's no doubt in anybody's mind that I'm actually drunk, then I'm going to perform acrobatics and fire breathing stuff. And so they loved it.
Did you do that?
I did, yeah. And what they did, they had so many different acts.
Did they go smoothly?
As smoothly as it could, yeah. Like there'd be like an act or two acts, and then they bring me out. Everybody, this is Steve-O. He's gonna get drunk, you know. And I would poke a hole in the beer can and shotgun it, and then throw it down empty. You could hear the can hit the stage totally empty, so you know I chugged the whole beer and in record time. And then immediately do a second one back to back. And the crowd was kind of impressed. So then I go off, they bring out another couple acts. Then they bring me out again, so that they wove me through the show.
Yeah.
Like, I came out onto the stage, I don't know, and I did it 2 nights in a row. And I think one night I drank 9 beers, the other night I drank like 11 beers. And the thing was that the more I drank, the crowd kind of like got into it. And once I was on like beer like 6 or 7 or something like that, the crowd actually started screaming, Steve-O, Steve, yeah. You know? And I remember being drunk, standing on that stage thinking, God, there's just no way that if I'd said my name was Steve Glover, that anybody would scream. Like, nobody's gonna chant Steve, you know. And I just thought, that's it, you know. I thought that's it, Steve-O, and drunk on that stage was when I decided I'm committed to being Steve-O professionally. And in hindsight, best decision I ever made, because if you think about Jackass, and not to be disparaging of my Jackass brothers, but I genuinely believe that of the Jackass personalities, those who professionally use the name on their passport, their legal given name, did themselves a terrible disservice, because who are the names that really, I think, we recognize? We've got Wee Man, not his real name, it's a member of Wee Man. We've got Bam, Johnny Knoxville, it's just like these absurd fucking this nickname, stage names kind of thing, are more memorable. Steve-O. It's like just so stupid and easy to remember and memorable that I think I really did myself a favor by choosing to go that way.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Paddy the Baddy.
Literally.
Paddy the Baddy.
A lot of people don't know what my second name is.
Yeah, Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like.
Dude, you've been clever, and here, dude, like, it just strikes me how powerful the story I just told really is, because what made me choose Steve-O was hearing people chant, Steve-O, and dude, you've not only got people chanting your name, but you've got this like intricate. Oh, Paddy the Baddy.
Yeah, it's a belter chant, like, you're not wrong.
Dude, it's insane. And when we were on my podcast talking about how you felt that it was on some level like disrespectful of what was going on in the octagon, that like here, you walk in, the fight's ending, like you've done nothing wrong. You've entered the octagon. You're standing in the corner of the arena, and they're trying to officiate. They're trying to announce the official decision, and nobody could give a what's going on in the octagon because they're so busy chanting, "Oh, Paddy the Baddy." Whoever won that fight, like, their moment was absolutely shot.
Yeah, it was. So, I mean, it was a bit sly, but
I know, but you didn't intend it to be.
There's nothing I can do about it. Like, I didn't.
Yeah, you didn't intend it. And when you said on my podcast that made you feel really bad, I was like, oh my God, dude, that's crazy how I am, because it never even occurred to me. The only thing that occurred to me was, wow, he just took over this whole arena and he wasn't even on the screen. Like, just.
I know what you mean. It's just because obviously I'll get like, I'm in the cage sometimes, and like, I'd hate for someone to do that to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd be like, why do that? I'd probably like, who's that?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd probably stop fighting and be like, who's that?
Yeah. I get it, man. I mean, I'm the gnarliest attention whore maybe ever. But, you steal my shine, we got a problem.
How did you initially get into MMA then?
Oh, dude, I came in on the Ronda Rousey fucking hype train was what it was. Like, it was. I said last night that it's been like 5 years that I really, since I really caught the bug. And in reality, it was more like, like 2015, more like 7 years, something like that, maybe a little more. Yeah, I got just interested, man, all this talk about Ronda Rousey, all this thing, Then I was like, I would start, being really interested to find out with all the buzz around her, I wonder if she won, and it never occurred to me to buy a pay-per-view at that time, but I would be like trying to like bring it up on YouTube, and it was very difficult to. The UFC's pretty good about protecting.
The UFC's good at blocking stuff on YouTube.
And power to them. They should be. I love the way that Dana goes after, copyright infringement. So like I was like, oh, okay, well that's how it is. So I started buying the pay-per-views, and I just started enjoying it. I had, back when it was new, like I remember like in the 90s, like 1996. Before they had 5-minute rounds. Yeah,
when it was just a continuous round.
Right.
First to
just like one fucking long thing that like I remember it was genius for them to introduce the 5-minute round, because grappling scenarios lasting for fucking
Yeah.
25 minutes.
Well,
Like, to me, it was painfully
It
boring.
wasn't even that, was it? They had to do it, didn't they? Because of the commissions.
I guess.
Yeah, they
like,
had to bring rounds in and the 10 points
oh,
scoring
well,
system.
I mean, there you go. Like,
Otherwise, it was just going to stay illegal.
right. Well, I mean,
Imagine that,
it's good because my genuine effort. I gave it a college try to watch UFC in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it was just like, dude, this fucking, the guys were locked up grappling, you know, like.
Yeah, remember, like, there was
nothing.
there was a Ken Shamrock versus Hoist Gracie where it just went for like 50 minutes or something, and like they were just like holding on to each other and little grappler exchanges, and nothing really much happened.
And I don't know. I think that it was either like, it felt like either kind of impossibly boring grappling for me back then. Now I love grappling, but I couldn't really digest the grappling back then. And I think that like the explosive knockout striking is kind of maybe was a little bit too disturbing for me. It's either going to be boring or it's going to be like too violent, you know, like
too disturbing for me.
I mean, like on some level, I
Some
think
of the shit you've done.
I know, but dude, like say when there's like a sporting event and somebody breaks their leg or something, I don't want to fucking see that.
I know what
like,
you mean. That is.
I can handle seeing myself get injured, but dude, I don't want to see a grievous injury. I'm not interested in that. I hate it. And a lot of the time when I'm in the arena at UFC events, like more so when I'm at the event and like, you know, one guy gets the other dude rocked and then swarms on him and the arena just becomes this electric, like, rah, you know.
Yeah.
It just feels like you're in a fucking coliseum watching a guy be fed to a lion, and it's like I can't help but think, what's wrong with me? And like, and it's, I think what it is human
that's
nature.
human. I was about to literally took the words out. You know, it's just human nature.
It's human nature. I think that like we have this like overwhelming like it's just in our DNA, like this survival instinct, and so like we're so programmed. Like survival is so important to us. So like it's just couldn't be more compelling to see this. Like,
I always say this. Someone said to me a couple of years back, and they were like, if you had a football game, or say for you like a basketball game or a hockey game, and someone starts fighting in the crowd, what are you gonna start watching? The fight or the footy? It's like, you're gonna watch the fight, aren't you? It's like you can't help it. It is just human nature, lad. We can't help. We like violence. Like we like human combat.
I think that with Jackass too, it's kind of like the same philosophy. Like the you know, like there's this human dynamic. What you're talking about, it applies to like when there's an accident in the roadway.
Yeah,
like you get extra traffic because everybody
slows down.
Everybody slows. It's called rubbernecking.
Yeah,
rubbernecking. So you can turn your head to look at the carnage of an accident in the road. And I think that like grandmas, you know, elderly women, I think contribute to this traffic jam by like slowing down to ogle at carnage as much as anybody else. I think it defies demographics. And that's why fighting is so compelling, so popular. And I think that's part of why Jackass did so well, because it, like for us, it's like, oh, you know, and accidents are compelling, inherently interesting to people. So we kind of just manufacture accidents deliberately. And
they were weird. It was worse than manufacturing accidents than some of the ones I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's. And I gotta say too that even like I don't have to say it at all, but I'm gonna say it, that for me to make the, you know, the point that about traffic and accidents and and people slowing down to look at the carnage, like having lost our Jackass brother Ryan Dunn in a car accident, it's hard for me to make that analogy, you know, or just that. You know, to create that picture, but it's just true. It doesn't change. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
So, dude, let's just talk really quickly about something that you said, presumably.
Oh yeah, let's see. Just before we started.
I mean, I think we were recording, but for whatever it is, you said, say it again.
Yeah, no, I said, how would you rather win the belt the way McGregor did in like.
Knock out Aldo in 9 seconds.
Yeah, or the way Edwards just did. Like 4 rounds to 1 down on the scorecards, but with a minute to go, it's like something out of a Hollywood movie, lad. Egg kicks him.
Right. And you said, and by the way, I think it was more like 30 seconds, right, or something, but the McGregor knocked out Aldo.
No, that was something like 9 seconds,
yeah,
wasn't
maybe.
it? Yeah, when McGregor knocked Aldo.
It was quick. But
It was like 12 seconds tops,
Yeah, okay.
like top serious. And then the other one, I think his other performance though in the title fight's even better against Alvarez. That
Yeah.
performance is even better, lad.
Right. That was when he became champ.
Yeah, when he became champ, that performance was just.
Stellar.
It was like he was in the Matrix.
Right.
I mean, it was just.
As I said before we started, I'm gonna push back on that. Like, like your
He's pushing back.
your claim that you would rather win a championship the way Leon Edwards won last night as opposed to the way McGregor won over Aldo. And Leon Edwards couldn't be a sweeter guy. I've met him. I love him. You know,
it's cool, Leon, lad. He's a proper nice fella.
Yeah, I sent him a DM in all caps last night. Yeah, dude, so happy for you. Congratulations. Yeah. And, like the thing was that I'm just going to push back because as much as I like Leon Edwards as wonderful of a person as he is, he got dominated, man. You don't want...
Yeah, he did, of course, but
you
like...
don't want to get dominated for 4 rounds.
Obviously, they're going to have a rematch, aren't they? You know what I mean? It's going to be a rematch.
I have, like... You want to be dominant. You want dominant fashion. And you want, like what's great about you and why you're on this roll is because you're winning in dominant fashion. You've yet to see a 3rd round. And you're pouring personality all over the Paddy story has a beginning and a middle. And, there's, like, every part of it. It's not like, take, for example... fighters who are great, but they just don't have like the personality.
Yeah.
They don't like. I think of Robert Whittaker. And there was something Robert Whittaker said. I think it was in a press conference. It was in an interview. He said that he said, I understand that the way to get big fights is to like talk trash, and he says that's just not me. That's not me. Like, I believe in like the respect and the honor of combat sports, and I'm just never gonna be that guy that talks shit, And I think to myself, all right, but just because you don't talk shit and go after people doesn't mean that you can't have like charisma, I don't
talk to go after people. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, you're very matter of fact. If you have a feeling that if your opinion is the like critical of someone, you're gonna say it. And it's gonna be authentic.
I can't help it, lad. I've been shouted at for it plenty of times, lad, for saying my opinion too often, but I can't help it.
Right.
It's just the way I am.
I just think that and you can't train.
I know what you mean. Though I think I like Arnold Allen. He's on like a 9 or 10 fight win streak. Yeah. He's on like a 9 or 10 fight win streak, beating top 10 guys at featherweight, and no one's talking about him. It's crazy that he needs to get more respect, really.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah,
he's very good, lad.
Yeah,
absolutely battered down.
Dude, how about that, man? The UK is really coming up. It's exciting. The UK has been so criticized for not having wrestling, and
well, lad, as you were telling me on your podcast yesterday, you know the UK very well, don't you?
I do.
I didn't know this.
I was born in England, and I grew up there more than anywhere else. I didn't tell you as much on my podcast, but like I grew up in 5 different countries. Like born in England.
Yeah.
But just a baby, when I was 6 months old, I moved to Brazil and spoke my first words in Portuguese in Brazil. And I lived in Brazil because my father was the president of Pepsi Cola in all of Brazil, which is kind of a surprise that I was like this privileged kid, you know. The reason I spoke my first words in Portuguese in Brazil was because my dad, being this successful corporate executive businessman, I was raised by nanny. I was literally raised by live-in maids, and they taught me my first words. When I was 2 years old, we moved to Venezuela, and I went to nursery school speaking fluent Spanish. And then when I was 4 years old, I moved to America for the first time, living in Connecticut, but not for long, because when I was 6 years old, we moved to Miami, Florida. And when I was 9 years old, we moved back to England. And that's when I started attending the American school in London, England, in St. John's Wood. And in London. And then when I was 12 years old, we moved to Canada. And then I was just 13 years old. We moved back to London, England, and I stayed all through high school. So I was in London from 13 to 18 years old.
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, so now when I went to the University of Miami to fail miserably there, I was 18 and had not lived in America since I was 9 years old. Like, for almost that entire time I was in England.
Yeah, that's mad.
So when I learned how to smoke weed, it was with tobacco mixed in. The
European way.
Yeah, and in America, your life really does not begin when you're an American until you're 16 years old and get a driver's license, learn how to drive.
Yeah.
You know, before that, it's like, Mom, will you drive me somewhere? But in England, where, you know, growing up in London, when I was 9 years old, I had as much freedom or more than an American kid has, like, when they're 16 years old and gets the driver's license.
I know what you mean. I think it's because America's so big. Like, you can't get about anywhere in America where literally...
It's a little spread out, yeah.
Yeah, like London, you can jump on the tube and get to the other side of London in 30 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. And
so you can just roam the streets freely.
Dude, I lacked parental supervision.
You was there for on your skateboard, just out there.
my dad was this corporate businessman, just constantly traveling. He was never around, and my mom was like quite drunk. So I had little parental supervision and maximum mobility with the London Tube.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You can get about fast on it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I was going, man. So yeah.
So did you used to have like a Cockney accent?
I didn't, man. Like, I didn't. I learned 3 different languages by the age of 3 and forgot 2 of them. I was
gonna ask you. Can you still speak any of the other? Are they gone? They're just not there.
I learned maybe by the age of like 2. I learned.
Because your first words are Portuguese, and you were speaking Spanish in Venezuela.
And my parents like were just American, you know. Like, well, to be fair, my mom was Canadian. My mom was born in Canada, so I'm Canadian citizen. But like, it's called naturalizing. So I have a Canadian passport because of my mom being born in Canada. I have an American passport because my dad was born in America. And I have a British passport because I was born in England. So I'm triple national. To this day, I have 3 valid passports.
Yeah, you're nice. There's a wait on our passports at the minute, lad. Everyone watching this in the UK will be like, I know,
and dude,
people are waiting months for passports.
Dude, what I want to know about the British passport is that I got a 10-year, you know, like a 10-year passport, like right before the Brexit. So my passport's good until 2025.
Yeah, same, man. Similar.
And it says EU.
Yeah, mine's still. Yours is still like the burgundy colour.
Yeah. Burgundy. It says EU.
Yeah, Laura's is a black one, isn't it? She's got a new one which is black. Mine's a burgundy one still, but mine doesn't run out for like another 5 years or something like that.
So I wonder if even though the Brexit happened, does the EU still honor that because it's an EU passport?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, wow.
But I don't think we're classed as EU citizens now. I think it's like, you know what I mean? We're not classed as like EU citizens. It was the stupidest vote ever, but it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, man, and I wonder if cause like you felt pretty strongly yesterday. I understood that, you know, about the being a Tory or a Labor Party. You know, like your identification with the working class is pretty rad, and I wonder, because common sense tells me if you're Germany in the EU and you're like, this European Union dynamic is set up so that we have to pick up all the slack from Greece just failing financially. We got to bail out Greece, and Italy's a disaster. Portugal, Spain, they're just blowing it, and it's our problem. Yeah. You know, like, if I'm Germany, maybe, like, I see the Brexit as kind of a cool idea. But then again, what do I know? Maybe I've got it all wrong.
Yeah, same as I was saying yesterday, but I haven't got much of a clue about politics.
Yeah, I don't know shit, so I'll shut up.
I'm not going to start talking about stuff I don't know much about, but yeah, we all like Tories by ours.
Let me ask you this. Like an inevitable trilogy now between Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman.
Oh yeah, that's happening. That, like, 100%.
Right, but do you see a knockout like that, a vicious fucking knockout like that, and you gotta wonder if that's gonna compromise Kamaru Usman, and because, like, we see fighters get brutally knocked out and they develop what we call a glass jaw. Yeah, you know, like, once you've been knocked out, now you're prone to being knocked out. And
we'll only time will tell on that front. You know, right? I mean? There's no other way to find that out. Only time will tell.
Exactly, and there's different criteria too. There's different reasons why fighters will be forever compromised from a brutal knockout. Like, it can physically damage your brain so that you can actually not take head trauma anymore. 9 times out of 10, though, it's mentally. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. And then there's just the psychological effect where now you're fighting.
You know full well, like, that rematch, Usman is just shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting.
Yeah, and dude, like, I was excited for the main event last night, and then a couple foot stomps out of Usman. I'm like, not this again.
That's what I mean. Well, Edwards had very good takedown defense, I thought, for like the first 3 rounds, but then he got tired.
And that end of that first round with the body lock, like, that was where we were like, yeah, this could first. Who would have thought that, by the way? Right. First ever person. How fast did they get that on the screen? Yeah. 16 fights in the UFC.
Colby Covington's fought him twice. You know what I mean? Who else has fought him?
Right, and then not one person. Colby Covington claimed to have taken down Usman, but didn't get the credit.
To be fair, I know, he basically did take him down, though, in MSG. He basically did.
I know, and they just didn't give it to him.
Yeah, dirty that, like.
Yeah, they didn't give it to him, but yeah, they had that typed up and ready to go.
Yeah, they did, you're not wrong there.
It was like, kabop. Yeah.
So, when you was in London, did you, like, want to be a stuntman then from that young age?
No, not so much.
Or was you just content skating on the tube?
I was skateboarder. Like, I wasn't really particularly organized, man. In my thoughts about life. Like, my childhood was an exercise in me being very uncomfortable in my skin and, like, kind of latching on to, like, some kind of identity that I could wear as a uniform. You know, like, initially it was like Little League sports where playing baseball, and they had a uniform for when we played the games, and, like, when I was wearing that uniform, like, I was a baseball player, and, like, that made me, like, feel like I amounted to more. So, like, I was just, like, really, like, I dove into the identity. I was just a little kid, and baseball was so important to me. But then, like, some heavy metal music caught my ear, and I saw, like, there was this sort of, like, a culture, and people with, like, growing their hair long in the back and wearing, like, jean jackets, just being heavy metalers. And I poured myself into that.
Did you have big, long hair?
I wanted to grow a mullet. My parents wouldn't let it get very long.
I wanted to grow a mullet.
My parents wouldn't let it get very long, but I just all of a sudden I took on this identity of, like, a heavy metal hesher kind of guy. And here's a cool story, man. When I was 13 years old, super into heavy metal. It was what I was all about. And my favorite band was Mötley Crüe because like they represented this like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I just fucking thought that was it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was it. And I lived in Toronto in Canada. I said I moved to Canada when I was 12. And I was 13 when Mötley Crüe came to town. And I saw in the news the day before their concert that they had gotten into town and gotten into some kind of trouble. And I was like, well, they're already fucking here and the concert's tomorrow. So, like, that means to me they're in a fucking hotel.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to find these fucking guys, right? And so
is this at 13?
13, yeah. I was like, I'm going to find these fucking guys. And so I was like, you know, all the guys in Mötley Crüe, you've got Tommy Lee, you know, and I'm like, dude, Tommy Lee's not going to fucking check into a hotel as Tommy. I can't just call the hotel and say, let me fucking get Tommy Lee, you know? So I was like, I guess they're going to be in a hotel checked in under the name of their manager. So I ran to my room and I looked at all my albums, my cassette album sleeves, and looked for their manager's name. It said Doc McGee. Then I ran to the fucking kitchen. I opened up the phone book to Yellow Pages and I just started calling hotels. And from the top of the list, every hotel, they answered. I'm like, hello, can you put me through to Doc McGee's room, please? For hours. And I finally got patched through. And,
Don't lie, it worked.
I swear it worked, dude. Yeah, I got patched through. This fucking phone rings in a hotel room, and this guy answers the phone, and I said, hello, is that Doc McGee? And he says, no, this is Doc's brother, Scott. Who's this? And I'm like, fucking Mötley Crüe, are you serious? Are they there, dude? You know, like, and he was kind of annoyed. He's like, how did you get this number? And I told him I just called every hotel in the Yellow Pages, and he says, are you kidding me? That is awesome. How would you like backstage passes? And I can give you tickets in the 5th row. So my dad took me and got pictures of me with Nikki Sixx and Tommy Lee.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, it was October 25th of 1987.
Yeah, you'll never forget that. Like,
That dude, it made me a monster. It literally made a monster out of me because, like,
it made me a monster.
100%.
I can't wait for someone to quote that and make it into a meme, you know?
Dude, these were my heroes, dude. These were the biggest icons that I could ever hope to be standing next to.
And then they were just there.
And I was there, and I didn't have anything that, like, you know, I didn't have any like interaction of substance. I didn't have anything that they needed to hear me say to them. There was nothing like, but just the fucking fact that I was standing next to my heroes like that. And I was like, I made this happen. Like, I think it empowered me to really have the belief that whatever the fuck I want, like I can make it happen, you know? And that was my heavy metal phase. And then,
that's one of the sickest stories ever. How many hotels do you reckon you rang?
Oh, dude.
What was the phone bill that month?
they were only local calls, so it wouldn't have been a phone bill issue. But I know that it was a Saturday, you know, and my dad was like watching American football in the living room, you know, like I was in the kitchen, my mom was home, and my mom was properly annoyed that because this was before they had call waiting. So now, like, you know, you're tying up that. Now if someone calls,
and was it one of them phones as well?
Yeah, you're gonna have a busy signal. You're not gonna hear a beep that allows you to click over. So my mom was like frustrated that I was sitting here tying up the house phone because you're tying up the phone. You know, and I say, Mom, I'm calling Mötley Crüe. You know, like whatever, like, and my dad, to his credit, all he ever wanted was for me to be like on fire for something, because like my whole life, up to that point and after that point, my credit cards, my report cards from school, my grades were terrible. I had terrible grades. I was constantly in trouble. I was just like. I was a basket case. I was a lot to deal with, and it was a mess. And my dad for my dad to sit there and see his kid on fire, like with this initiative, with this drive, calling hotels. My dad told my mom, like, to fucking back off.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, honey.
He's enjoying himself. Leave him alone.
Yeah, honey, he's cool. And my dad was really stoked. And after that, like with every bad report card and everything, like it became this like albatross kind of a thing. Like whenever I was in trouble, whenever like my dad was like, son, if you could just show the initiative that you showed to meet Mötley Crüe and apply it here, you know, like
become a staple. What he'd say to you, he'd just say it all the time.
But dude, this is a big deal, I think, because like my dad went on to say years later, he said when Steve sets his mind to something, he can accomplish just about anything. The problem is that's a fairly narrow slice of the pie. You know, like I never learned how to run a dishwasher. I never like every job that I ever had, I got fired. I got fired. I made a YouTube video like 10 jobs I got fired from. And that's just the 10 I chose to fucking,
just let everyone know.
Yeah, dude, I'm a top 10 machine, dude. But like whenever I'm not like into something, I'm like crippled. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing and a curse because it makes it makes like pretty easy like rudimentary tasks like borderline impossible for me to accomplish, you know, like it slows me down. I'm very lopsided in my life, but when I'm passionate about something, like I'm on fire for it, you know. So like for me, success, I was either gonna, you know, like to coin the term, like get rich or die trying, you know, like and forget about get rich, but like I was either gonna be famous or dead or in jail, you know. Basically there was no like work a regular 9 to 5 like type of a life in the cards for me. It wasn't gonna happen. I was either gonna fail or I was gonna win.
I know what you mean though. I've always said that but the thing is, I've never had a job. I started.
I love it.
I've never had a job. I don't know what it's like to be fired.
Right, but for you. You know, and it's, I don't even know, like my mom, I told you my mom was drunk. Like there's major alcoholism on my mother's side of the family. In fact, everyone, my mom and all of her siblings, plus her parents, plus all the way up the family tree, everyone is actually, I used to say dead or dying, but now they're all dead. Dead from alcoholism and gambling and suicide. And like, you know, really like pretty dark stuff on my mom's side of the family. And of course that was like the, you know, my thing, you know, like I was like I have that too, you know. I'm the first member of my mom's family tree to achieve long-term sobriety, and I'm profoundly grateful for that. And since I got sober, like I used to really kind of exhibit, I think that like that it almost explains like the idea of Steve-O. The fact, like I'm like a hybrid of my mom's side and my dad's side, you know. Like I've got.
Are you an only child?
I'm not. I have an older sister.
Older sister.
Yeah, and like I've got all the deviance, all of the alcoholism, all of the frankly mental illness, you know, like of my mom's side of the family. But I've got this like from my dad's side of the family, just this like. This, you know, it's like it's just like deviance with an engine, you know, and more since I got clean and sober, like more and more I seem to exhibit like my dad's characteristics, you know, and somehow I've become like more I've grown in what I'm able to kind of wrap my head around, and I want that for you because you've got so much heat on you, you know, so much fucking like just such a profile and so much equity for you to be converting that into revenue. You know, like when we were on Mike Tyson's podcast and they had these questions prepared for you, and they're the guys but how can you get, what do you mean, $12,000 and then $12,000 to win in March? I mean, like, it's an outrage. And I'm just thinking to myself, dude, if I'm Paddy the Baddy, all of the fame that I'm getting from the UFC, that's promo. That's like the commercial to promote the brand of Paddy the Baddy.
And that's what a lot of fighters don't understand.
You don't need the UFC to pay you money. They're paying you in eyeballs. You have those eyeballs, and you've got those eyeballs on a level that like nobody else in the entire fucking organization has. You've got the whole arena chanting this complicated chant, like in America, when you're not fighting and you're not even on the screen. And there's actual shit going on in the octagon that really deserves attention. Yeah, you're getting the attention. Like, they don't have to fucking pay you for your fights, dude. Like, it's up to you to harness that fucking
yeah, that's how it annoys you when I see some fighters, lad, and they say, what is it? Oh, he's getting pushed, he's getting promoted more. I'm not. I just promote myself better than you, right. So they use more footage of me.
Right, and if anything, you've been very candid about this as well. Like, they know when they've got a star. I'm actually pretty surprised that they're throwing in O'Malley with Petr Yan. Like, that feels...
As I said, though, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win, but it also feels kind of...
Because even if he loses, everyone's going to be like, oh, give him his due. We got in there with Yan.
But there's a bunch of recognizable names that you could have given him first. You know, I almost like... You know, I almost think like, fuck, what did Sean O'Malley do or say? Because you know that's how it works. You know.
I just think that really it really is a win-win for him. Like, right. As long as he doesn't get knocked out. Know what I mean?
What do you think about it? And who knows? Maybe he's gonna win. Maybe he's gonna.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He could. He's got that power. He could knock someone out.
He's good.
Yeah,
he's fucking good. There's no question. But what do you think about all the stuff that he's been putting on Instagram, where he's like hopping around, like smoking and spliffs and with the? It's like
I haven't seen it, to be honest.
He's been clowning himself a little bit on his Instagram, and I mean, hey, like it's fun and it's funny, and but part of me just thinks, ooh, man, Sugar, what are you doing there? It almost looks like you're, I don't know, I love Sugar Sean, dude. I'm not gonna fucking I'm not even. I've criticized him in the past, and I fucking was wrong, dude. He had to keep doing what you're doing. I take it back. I love that kid.
He loves the UFC, this fella, you know. Dude, like, what was the first ever UFC event you went to then?
The first one I went to was Cormier John Jones in Anaheim.
Yeah, you got spoiled there then, didn't you?
Yeah, right.
Jesus.
Dude, I remember like there was one in it wasn't Phoenix, it was Glendale, Arizona, but I was sitting next to Sugar Sean.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me, he's like, dude, this fucking psycho, I've got my earphones in, and I've got
commentary thing.
My fight pass on my phone, like so I can hear Rogan and Cormier. But there's like, I don't know,
time difference,
one minute delay or a 3-minute delay, but I don't fucking care. I'm just like, I'm watching the fights, but he's like, this fucking asshole is watching the fights and he's watching it on Fight Pass. He's fucking psycho. And
we actually watched the fights together yesterday, and Steve-O was there at like 4 p.m. ready for the fight. Facebook prelims, then the prelims, then the main card.
The Facebook prelims. That's classic. But, yeah, the Fight Pass prelims.
Yeah, Fight Pass prelims.
Yeah. Oh, dude, man. I do that, man. Like when I'm like Anthony Kiedis, dude. I can show up for the first prelim in the arena. My girl and I flew to Dallas to see Darren Till when he challenged Tyron Woodley for the belt. And my girl and I show up for the Fight Pass prelims, and it was so crazy because we walk in, the arena is empty, and we go to our seat, and Anthony Kiedis, the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, is fucking sitting there. They've got me sitting next to him, like right in front of the octagon, and I'm thinking, I'm sitting next to the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Anthony Kiedis, and I'm just telling myself, like, okay, I'm in my head, I'm thinking, like, okay, dude, Steve-O, just fucking shut the fuck up, don't fucking annoy the guy, just fucking, like, just let him do his thing, just watch the fights, like, don't fucking be a kook. And And sure enough, like Anthony Kiedis, like, wait, what do you think of this? Like, we're just talking about fighting, like we're rabidly into it. We're just sat there for 6 hours having a blast, just analyzing fights, talking about it. Dude, that guy was great.
Yeah, lad, the same happened to me. The first UFC event I went, like first one where I was sitting in the good seats, I was sitting next to Action Bronson.
Yeah.
But I didn't know who he was. You know what I mean?
He's always there.
Yeah,
dude.
so
I love that guy.
I was just, me and him were just talking about the fight, saying, oh, I reckon he's won that round, I reckon he's won that. And then he messaged me after it. I was like, oh, what's happening, lad? You alright? You know what I mean? I didn't know, like, because that's not on British television, his programme. You know what I mean? So I didn't know who he was.
Right. Yeah, dude, he's Bam Bam Baklava. And he's great.
But we spoke about UFC enough. We spoke about that a bit yesterday as well. So we wanted to talk about, obviously, Jackass.
Alright, dude.
Lad, by ours, lad, everyone grew up watching Jackass. It's just,
yeah, dude.
We used to do loads of stupid shit. Not along them lines, like, not that mad. Like, yous have lost the plot.
I mean, it's definitely... There's definitely some cultural significance to Jackass, and you know, like I said, you know, it was 1993 when I
decided that you wanted to do that.
when I was kicked out of the dormitories and at the University of Miami, when I dropped out as a student, I ceased to be a student in 1993, and you know, it was kind of like, wow, now you've been kicked out, now you're homeless, you know, like now, like, what are you going to do now?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to become a crazy famous stuntman with my home video camera. I'm going to videotape ridiculous stunts and become famous, you know, and it was 1993, dude. There was no precedent for that. There was no such thing as reality TV.
I was going to say, was there no television programs by then where you videoed stuff and sent it in?
None.
None of that.
I mean, they did have America's Funniest Home Videos.
But they didn't want to show people hating themselves on that.
Well, they're surprisingly violent, that show got, actually. But yeah, the home, at that time, the home video camera was not... It was not a household item. It was just not a household item. It was not something that everybody had. The home video camera was a fairly rare, you know, possession, or maybe not fairly rare, but there was only enough home video camera footage being generated to support that one television show, America's Funniest Home Videos. And nobody would ever have considered it a career to shoot something that ends up on America's Funniest Home Videos. Yeah. It always just seemed like an odd, like, oh, wow, you know, like, that was never going to be, because you submitted a clip to America's Funniest Home Videos, that was not, did not mean that was going to be your career. Yeah. You know, there was no such thing as, like, making a career out of filming home video footage. They didn't even have the internet. Dude, there was no such thing as email till 1996, I think. Like, so it was pre-internet. It was...
yeah, kids now just think the internet's been here forever.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, like, it's easy to kind of find yourself thinking that.
I think I'm the last generation that knows what a VHS is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I remember putting VHS in, and it being at the end of the film, you're like, right, having to rewind the film.
That's how I came up, was by plugging VCRs, which was video cassette recorder. Yeah. With, like, I'd plug one fucking VCR into another VCR and hit play on one and record on the other.
And you'd sell them?
To duplicate my tape. I wouldn't sell them. God, no, nobody would want it. What I would do is duplicate these VHS tapes and physically walk them to the post office and mail them to, like whoever I thought might watch them. And then these were mostly people in the skateboarding industry. Yeah. The skateboarding was my big phase after heavy metal, and that's when I was introduced to the video camera. And when I was introduced to the video camera making skateboard videos, my first one was in 1990. I made my first video, and I fell in love with the video camera. I didn't think that I would have a career as a professional skateboarder. I just wasn't that good. But I knew that I was in love with the video camera as soon as I played with one. And I thought that I could have a career as a creative advertising guy. I thought I loved making videos, and I think that I could make good commercials. Like, as like the first, like, what I wanted to do with my life was I'm going to become an advertising guy.
Yeah.
And that's what I went to the University of Miami for. And when I got to the University of Miami, I just fucked up. I wasn't going to class. I was getting in trouble. I was getting kicked out. And so people are like, what are you going to do now? And the only thing I knew that I was really into was the video camera.
Yeah.
So now I'm not going to be an advertising guy anymore. And I know I'm not going to be a professional skateboarder, but I'm like, I could be just a wild motherfucker, dude. I could just be fucking wild, dude. And that was, so everybody I told this to, like, I'm going to be a crazy famous stuntman. People just felt sorry for me, dude.
Yeah.
They just felt fucking sorry for me. It was just like, man, that's sad. That's tragic. What a loser. And I just never gave up. And what I was going to say before, too, when I was telling you about the Mötley Crüe thing, is that I'm okay. You know, like, being physically incapable of doing anything that I'm not and passionate about is like, it's a gift and a curse. Yeah. You know, like, there's a lot of...
Because everything else feels like a chore.
I can't do it. Yeah. I can't do it, you know? And like... And I have mad respect for people who can, slog through life in a profession that they don't love.
Yeah.
I think that's more people than not, you know, people who can carry out tasks that they don't genuinely love doing. But dude, like, I had this Q&A for my new book that comes out next month, and one of the questions is so stupid, dude. It was fucking a interview for the audio book for Audible, because I read my own audio book, and so all of the questions are sort of somehow like to do with audio and sound, and like one of the first questions was, do you do your best work with sound or in silence? And I couldn't even pretend to be fucking not annoyed by that stupid question.
That's the easiest question ever.
It's just stupid. I said whether there's sound in the background has nothing to do with the quality of the work I'm doing. You know, like, I'll tell you when I do my best work is when I am enthusiastic about the work that I'm doing.
Nothing to do with what's music's on in the background.
And this is something that I really feel strongly about, and I love to share, because when we talk about like success as human beings, you know, like the things that make us successful, like, of course, intelligence is helpful. And of course, talent is useful. But you can be the smartest, most fucking talented guy in the world, and that doesn't mean shit unless you've got enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is the most important fucking ingredient to success, period, ever. Because, like, enthusiasm is the engine that fucking drives, like, real shit. And get a load of this, how heavy this is. The actual word enthusiasm, when you break it down for, I think it's Greek or Latin roots, like enthusiasm, it's comes from en theos, which means with God. When you're fucking enthusiastic, you're doing God's work, and that's the best fucking work you can do. That's when I do my fucking best work, when I'm doing fucking God's work. Yeah.
Sick that, you know.
Yeah, and that's for me God's work, is fucking shove shit up my ass and breaking bones on a home video camera.
How did that all come apart? Like, how did that all come together though? Like, how did you meet, like, Knoxville and Wee Man?
It was skateboarding, you know.
I was going to say, it was a true skateboarding, lad. Some of these skateboards are sick, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, man. I gotta give you one of those Knoxville ones. You can't get those now.
They're sick, lad.
All for sale, yeah, people. I mean, like I said, the skateboard introduced me to the video camera, and I loved skateboarding. I really did, and that's like what the thing about Jackass. And I made a video called The Birth of Jackass, according to me, is just sort of my personal like 8-minute documentary about the origins of Jackass, and it's on my YouTube channel, and I'm like fiercely proud of that video. But it's really a story of skateboarding, and back in the days of America's Funniest Home Videos, when the video camera was not a household item, not everybody had it, like, the people who did gravitate to the video camera were skateboarders.
Yeah.
And that's because, like, the nature of skateboarding, skateboarding was the only activity that lent itself to video. Like, if you wanted to be a fighter and succeed at fighting, then win fights. You know, there's almost it's not necessary to present a sponsor me video of you fighting. It's like you've got your record that represents your track record. You know, and almost anything else is the same way. Like, you know, but skateboarding, every fucking skateboarder took to documenting their skateboarding so that they could present a video to try to get sponsors.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
So that puts skateboarders way ahead of the entire rest of the population as far as video production goes.
Yeah.
Skateboarders became movie directors. Like Spike Jonze, Oscar fucking winning Academy Award fucking movie director. His first video project was a skateboard video. So then, and he wasn't even he wasn't even supposed to be the one to make it. He was a photographer for a skateboard company, and the owner of the company decided he wanted to make a video because he wanted to get in on this because videos were what was selling the products.
Yeah,
he's like, I need a fucking video. Who's gonna make it? And he's like, he didn't have anyone. So Spike Jonze got the job to make the Rubbish Heap video by default because there was no one else to do it. And that's just an example of how skateboarders were ahead of the curve. And the other thing about skateboarding videos was that even for a skateboarder, it was just too monotonous. It became monotonous to watch an hour of just skateboarding. You know, like it would
just trick after trick after trick after trick.
It would become kind of mind numbing.
You say, you need to have a little bit of personality. You know?
Right. Yeah, you gotta have personality, and like even more, you gotta have comic relief. So skateboarding videos, and particularly after that one that Spike Jonze made, like we saw before that with the Powell videos, there was you know, they were like little breaks, little vignettes. Yeah. You know, vignettes of like fucking just wild, crazy shit to just break up the monotony of all the tricks. Yeah. And recognizing that I wasn't that good at skateboarding, that I would become a pro, that was where when I said I'm going to become a crazy famous stuntman, I kind of made it my goal to be in skateboarding videos, providing that comic relief. Yeah. You know, providing that fucking...
You with the bloopers falling off the skateboard.
Yeah. I mean, I was setting myself on fire, fucking throwing myself off bridges, fucking like drinking bong water. I would do anything in the fucking world to get into a skateboarding video and just not be riding a skateboard. And I pulled that off. So... that was how I got my career started, was by being featured in skateboard magazines and skateboard videos, just doing bonkers ass shit. Yeah. And the guy who owned the company that Spike Jonze made the video for, this guy was fucking out of his mind. His name was Steve Rocco, right? And like he would promote his fucking company, World Industries, like in just insane ways, and like he didn't give a fuck. And like the way that outside of the skateboarding videos, like it was there was Thrasher Skateboard Magazine and Transworld. Yeah. So Steve Rocco is like putting these crazy fucking ads in the skateboard magazines, and he comes up with this one where it's a fucking kid holding a gun to his head, and it says like, "Kill yourself, World Industries." That's the ad. And like, and Thrasher and Transworld, both magazines, sent that fucking ad with the kid and the gun back to Steve Rocco. They said, "There's no fucking way we're running this. Like, this is offensive to us. We're not gonna run it, and like we're offended, and thank you very much. Like, you can have that back. That's not going in our magazine.
Yeah, that's a crazy advert.
Yeah,
that.
and Steve Rocco, being the way that he was like, oh yeah, you know, you don't like my ad. Well, f*** you. I'm gonna fucking have. He says, you know what? Fuck you. I don't need you. He says, I'm going to start my own fucking magazine. So that was why he started Big Brother Magazine, was just to serve as a forum for naughty filth that Thrasher and Transworld would never allow in its pages. and yeah, Big Brother Magazine was born. And Big Brother was the fucking craziest shit, and I loved it so much. And I made it my fucking job in life to be in Big Brother Magazine. So they made these videos, and their videos were loaded with the craziest comic relief. You had Johnny Knoxville shooting himself with a fucking .38 caliber handgun, just firing a bullet into a bulletproof vest that he's wearing. The gun goes flying and shit like that. And these Big Brother videos became like kind of like cult shit. And Bam was doing the same thing with CKY, but like, you know, Knoxville and Jeff Tremaine, who was the editor-in-chief of Big Brother Magazine, it was like, they're like, dude, we're onto something with this Big Brother shit. People are fucking tripping.
People are lapping it up.
People are tripping over the crazy shit we're putting in these Big Brother videos, and none of them give a fuck about the skateboarding. So they reached out to Spike Jones. They said, Spike, dude, everybody, like our Big Brother videos are becoming really fucking popular, and we think that if we were to just lose the skateboarding, take away the skateboarding and just the crazy shit, like, we think that could be a TV show. And so when they took out the skateboarding, what was left over was Steve-O and Knoxville and Rayman, and they just made a tape and took it to the networks and the MTV. That was how Jackass started.
That's unbelievable, you know.
It's a rad story,
It
dude.
is.
That's why I like that birth of Jackass video.
That really is an unbelievable story, lad. But before we finish, lad, well, before that,
dude, how about
move
this?
on to the Ask Paddy segment. Before that, anyway, I want you to talk about your book, lad. I want you to let everyone know about your book.
Yeah, it's,
you know what I mean?
Dude, it's fun, man.
I know for a fact I'm gonna eventually end up writing a book. What's it like actually doing a book, lad?
It's a ton of work, dude.
Is it?
I'm already a New York Times best-selling author because of my memoir.
You're already a New York best-selling author, yeah.
Steve-O, Professional Idiot, and this one came out in 2011.
Yeah.
It's got a 5-star rating on Amazon. It was a New York Times bestseller. It's a juicy ass book. And if you buy it at steveo.com, every copy is signed with my dickograph. And
you said that to me for the first time before, and I just started giggling. Me dickograph.
Dude, I was signing my name for a long time before I realized I was basically drawing dicks every time. But yeah, so my first book was 2011, and like over like the 10 years since it came out, you know, life's been really pretty eventful, you know, and I found that over the 10 years since the first book that like I was like, man, I got another book in me, you know, I really have a fucking another book. And so I asked the agent and you know my writer, this genius fucking writer, has done nothing but write books since we did the first one together. And I was like, I think I got another book in me. And they told me, well, memoir part 2 kind of isn't a thing, you know, like for a second book you have to have an angle on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, shit, that's annoying. But then I said, for what it's worth, on my comedy tour, on my bucket list tour, I start off by saying, hey everybody, I'm in a terrible situation. I'm Steve-O in my 40s. And you know, and like it's like a silly laugh, you know, like the idea of like, oh wow, you know, I have this identity that's like childish and reckless and adolescent even, you know, like it's not okay for fucking Steve-O to be middle-aged. You know, it's really pretty upsetting. And I think that's something that makes it funny because there's some truth to that. And I was like, I think I could write a funny and interesting like guide to middle age. And that was how the idea started. But ultimately, it didn't make sense to me to alienate people who aren't particularly concerned with middle age because like my audience does skew a lot younger than I am.
Yeah.
So as we kind of mapped it out what it would look like, I decided that it should be a book of wisdom. It's called A Hard Kick in the Nuts, What I've Learned from a Lifetime of Terrible Decisions. And I let it just be a vehicle for making that memoir part 2 because the last 10 years of my life have been just so fucking nuts. But what I did, and with the help of my co-writer, masterfully, really like took largely like unrelatable insanity that you just can't even fucking believe is so ridiculous, and like gleaned from it like actually relatable, you know, like what's the takeaway, you know?
Yeah.
I had a crazy life and did a lot of fucking super dumb shit so that like I could learn and impart some wisdom. And it's like, it's absurd for Steve-O to have a book of wisdom, but it's a fucking crazy ass book. Yeah. It doesn't need to help you, you know? It might help you, but mostly it's just gonna fucking make you And when I did the audiobook, I was like, you know, some months removed from having finished the manuscript. And as I read it on the audiobook, I thought to myself, like, why the fuck am I sharing this? You know, like all the graphic details of like the sex addiction and like all of the, you know, that like gets like, it's gnarly. Like it's gnarly. I admit some fucking heavy shit in that book, and I think it's gonna do really well. My first one was a New York Times bestseller, and I'm not worried about this one being a New York Times bestseller. What I want is for this one to be number 1.
Yeah.
So
nice.
So please get it. You know, like order like if you go to steveo.com, you can buy the first book autographed, and you can pre-order an autographed copy of the
nice.
The new one, the hardcover.
You know what to do, people. Get online, get ordering it. So you've got your dichograph, as Steve-O calls it.
And I structured it in such a way that the only way to get an autographed hardcover, like when the hardcover is when the book first comes out. Yeah. The only way to get that autographed is to pre-order it.
Yeah, nice.
So like, please hurry up and pre-order it, and you get that beautiful dichograph. And I promise you, like the reviews are coming in from like the critics and stuff. And there's nary a fucking criticism of it, except for that it's like just so uncomfortably fucking juicy.
Uncomfortably true.
Yeah.
But know what? Literally right before we do the Ask Paddy segment, I just wanted to ask you something. Now that you just said then, like hardest kick in the nuts. What's like the most painful thing ever?
Man, it's an anticlimactic.
I'd say in both ways, like physically and like mentally.
My dad's calling. Yeah, I can't talk to Dad right now. Dude, like that was a question that was annoying for me for a long time because with pain, there's sort of like 2 criteria. There's like how acute is the pain, and then there's what is the duration of the pain. Yeah,
you're right. How much does it hurt straight away, but then how long does it last?
Right. Like a cattle prod or a stun gun, like taser kind of thing. That's like some fucking acute shit. Like that, fast. You know. But it's over quickly.
Yeah.
And so it's like, man, you know,
I'd take that over the long duration one.
Right. Like whenever you've got like burns or or even just burns or abrasion on your butt cheek, then
what's the one? I think I've watched one, a Jackass, where you just rub your ass over sandpaper.
No, that was the fucking Dirty Sanchez guys.
Oh yeah, them ones. Yeah, they were like they were the UK's version. I like Jackass. I remember watching that. Just thinking,
that was down the grip tape with the.
Oh,
that's a tough one.
Imagine taking a shit the next
Well,
day.
it's not even about taking a shit. What it is when you have an abrasion or a burn on your butt cheek, then when you sit down, and then when you stand up from sitting down, you now have to peel your boxer shorts off of the wound, you know, and so that prevents it from healing.
I had that through the week, literally. I had one, like, from me fight, I had, like, a scratch, literally. I don't know if it was off a nail or the cage. I had a scratch, and I was getting in bed, and every day I was getting up out of bed, and there was just, like, a line, where it was stuck to the bed. I was getting up every morning, peeling it off the bed, so I know exactly what you mean. They are the worst. I said that in an interview myself, I'd rather get punched in my face than have scratches like that.
Yeah. For sure. And the question stopped being annoying when once I got third-degree burns on 15% of my body, which required skin graft surgery, because that was like
that hurt.
That hurt for fucking weeks, and it hurt at a fucking level that was fucked. And like I went on like this tour of burn units, and like I heard many times that anybody who's been shot and stabbed, or both, or either, like will tell you that that's chicken shit compared to burns. Burns are the worst.
You just have it there for you, in black and white. Burns are the worst.
Yeah, don't play with fire, man.
Yeah, don't play with fire. But yeah, we've got questions. I've got a few questions, you know. Anyway, here's one of Zachary Lane. What made the switch for you in the recovery you set on this path rather than relapsing like so many others in the first 30 days? I'm on step 9 myself. Both of you have been inspirational points during my journey. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
Cool. So this is a question.
Yeah, these are questions of fans.
Yeah, I mean, for that, I'm going to have to point you to the podcast that I recorded with Paddy.
Yeah.
And I think that we're setting this up to come out like double.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you don't know Paddy was on my podcast, then click the link in the description or to just find Paddy's interview on my podcast.
The exact part you were telling us about yesterday.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way that I interpret this question is, when was the obsession to drink and take drugs lifted, right? Like, what made the switch for recovery to last? Yeah. And, my answer to that, I believe that the obsession to drink, the compulsion to drink alcohol and take drugs is lifted when one has done a absolutely thorough 5th step where we share our secrets. Yeah. If you're keeping it, like I said, the literature tells us that if we hold any secrets back, if we don't share everything with somebody, you don't have to tell everybody, but you got to tell somebody everything. Yeah. And if you keep any secrets and don't share everything, then it says you're going to drink again. And I believe that. Yeah. And if you really do get everything off your chest and do that whole process, once you're through the 5th step, then I think you're no longer on defense. Now you've moved on to offense. And this person indicates they're on step 9, so they're on offense. Yeah. Now. So now it's not an exercise in trying to learn how to not drink and take drugs anymore. Now it's an exercise in finding out how fucking good your life is going to be, because now you're on offense. You know, life gets really good when you commit yourself to this way of life, the 12 steps. And that's what made the switch. Is I did the defense work, and now I'm on the offense work. Yeah. And my life's going so well on the offense work that I'm fucking terrified of ever having to go back to the defense work.
Brilliant bit of advice right there, though.
Yeah, that's what made the switch.
Next one, Crockpot228. Some of the names on this YouTube are brilliant, you know. But what is the one stunt you wish you never did?
I've got a video idea on my. I've got a whiteboard at home with my list of videos I'm gonna make, and it's gonna be another. It's gonna be a top 10 stunts I wish I never did.
Oh yeah, well keep an eye out for that video when Steve-O puts it out. That's it. Let them know, lad. Let them know. What's it called?
Yeah. It's just youtube.com/Steve-O.
Yeah, nice. What's a stunt that from Chevin. What's a stunt that everyone loves? That everyone loves that you feel you could have done better?
Oh wow, that's a fantastic question.
It is, very good, Chevin.
There's a video that I made, the most popular video that I've put out in the last year, I think, was called 10 Stunts I Backed Out of. And it's a little bit in the vein of that question where, you know, like I did something I didn't give it my all, and then I came back later and pulled it. Something that I half-assed. I've got the answer for this one. Something that everybody loved that I think was fucking chicken and I could have done way better was wasabi snooters.
Like I can't remember that one. What was that one?
Like as if I was snorting cocaine, I snorted wasabi.
Yeah. I remember that. No, that
and it was like clogged up in the straw. Like you couldn't see it go in my nose ever.
No, but
like,
I can remember your face after it.
It was more like it was more the idea of snorting wasabi that was shocking to people than the execution.
I can actually remember your face though, and like all the stuff coming out of your nose.
It made me barf immediately, and that's what kind of paid off the bit, making it visual that it was. But I think that the wasabi snooters was something that I could have
chopping up better.
Yeah, I had bumps of wasabi on my hand. And, you know, I was doing it like that. I could have done that way better.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm gonna ask you this one just because of the Mike Tyson tat.
Sure.
Because like that was.
Dude, my man with the Mike Tyson tat is here. Michael.
Where is he?
Michael Mentals.
Come in here, lad. Come and say hello to the cameras.
And he's from the UK too, from a little town called Hull.
Yeah, he's
where he drives it.
Yeah,
for the benefit of the people on YouTube, show your Mike Tyson to.
Come over to here, me, and show this one here. Yeah.
This camera right here.
Yeah, my man right
Mike
here.
Mike Tyson and Steve-O done that.
Yeah.
That was Steve-O's own handiwork.
Yeah, I've given myself. You know, a potential new career as a celebrity tattoo artist.
But yeah, from Drum and Bass, Dan TTV said, I'd like to know which of his tattoos are his favourite and what is the meaning behind them.
Oh, of the tattoos that I have.
You have, yeah, of your tattoos.
I mean, You've
got a lot to choose from, like, haven't you, Steve?
The one I used to have. This is kind of counterintuitive because my favorite tattoos are the ones that I lasered off.
Yeah.
I had the words shit and
yeah, I know.
On my knuckles.
That on your knuckles.
So my knuckles said shit and and I love, like, beyond what I can put into words. I'm so proud and grateful to have built a life for myself where with the words shit and prominently tattooed on my knuckles.
Not somewhere you can hide them. Right there.
Right. On my knuckles. And I just skated through life for over 10 years like that, and it never served as an obstacle. Sometimes when I went on TV, they would make me cover it up, and I would like change the letters into like other things with the marker.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a hassle, but dude, like, I just feel strongly that almost anybody else with on their knuckles, that would be like a real obstacle, man. That would be a job blocker. That would be like a relationship concern, you know? But not for Steve-O, dude. I skated through life and it never held me back for a fucking second, dude. And I'm so proud of that. But after it had been
he's the sickest man, you know.
After it had been over a decade, I kind of, you know, I ended up in a therapy group.
Yeah.
You know, it was a sex addiction thing. You know, great, and it was like older men that were in the group with me, and I was in a group, and one of the guys during the session, he looked at my knuckles and he said, "Man, I gotta say, like, I don't know what the story is there, but I can't help but feel kind of sad that I feel like it would take kind of hating yourself on some level to do that, to feel the need to do that to your knuckles and put that out in the world." You know, like, and he was just saying that from a place of compassion, you know, like he says, it looks to me like evidence of like a guy who doesn't like himself that would do that to himself. And I was like, man, wow, I never thought of it that way. You know, like I said, actually, I told him this wonderful story about when my mom was dying. she was in the hospital with a do not resuscitate order on her bed, meaning that this was like the final, you know, the final time. And I came in with having just gotten the shit and it was still like scabby, you know, it was fresh tattoos. And I walked into my mom's hospital room. There was nothing. It was just like, what do you say, you know? Like, here we are. It was tough. I didn't know what to say. And I just walked up to the bed and I said, hey, Ma, you know, check out my new tattoo. And I just held my knuckles up to my mom. And she looked at it and she says, and it was the last time my mom ever laughed. And she says, my son is a and she laughed again, you know? And it was just this like super, you know, like the fact that made my mom laugh, like, and that was just like that moment, you know, in that like tough time, like really made those tattoos super special to me. And again, skating through life for over a decade with that, and just like it didn't cause me a problem once, you know, like that that's a big deal too. But once the guy in the therapy group said that, and then I told him that story, and he said, man, wow, like here I looked at this and it just like was bumming me out, and it just seemed like sad and tragic. And then you tell me this beautiful, heartwarming story about your mom that's just so full of love, or you know, whatever, however he put it. He's like, it just goes to show you can never fucking jump to a conclusion by looking at something, you know? And I was like, man, and I walked out of that therapy group that night and I just thought, you know, whoever I was trying to impress, I was trying to one-up Ozzy. Ozzy was my fucking hero, you know? Like, he had fucking Ozzy on his knuckles, and he was just like, I wanted to fucking party like Ozzy. I wanted to be a rock star like Ozzy. I wanted to just take everything Ozzy was about and just bump it up a notch, you know? So, like, I was like, it was kind of my ode to Ozzy, and I was just the gnarliest, craziest guy ever. And that night after I walked out of the therapy group, I thought that whoever I had been trying to impress with on my knuckles, like, never fucking cared, you know? Like, whoever I was trying to impress never really cared that much, and they just had outlived its usefulness, and it felt like more aggressive than I cared to be at that, you know, from that point on. And so and I knew it would make my dad, like, it would make my dad happy. Actually, my dad, I had a big dick tattooed on my arm right here.
I can still see remnants
right,
of it.
A big dick, right. And so my dad, I remember my dad seeing these
tattoos. It's USA underneath it as well.
Yeah, it's a flying fuck. Like the first time my dad saw my knuckles, it was the first time he saw the big ass dick on my arm, and he pointed to my knuckles. He said, that's stupid, right? He points to my knuckles. He goes, that's stupid. But then he points to my dick on my arm and he goes, but I am personally offended by that. And so I left the therapy group. I ended up going to like a tattoo removal place, and I was like, you know what? Like, I was like, I want to get the and the dick on my arm all lasered off. And so I go in there, and it takes a number of treatments, you know, to go in there. I had to go in like time and time again. And I went in there, and they lasered my knuckles. And I think by like the second time in there, I didn't have it in me. I was like, no more. Like they got a couple treatments in on the dick, but I was like, stop. I can't part with it. I love it too much. So I've got like a faded dick on my arm, and I let him keep doing the knuckles.
You're a sick man, you know that. No, what? I was going to ask another question, but that's just perfect to end it on, lad.
All right,
perfect.
I love it.
But,
so, dude, anybody who...
I was just about to say, before I finish, tell everyone where to find yourself, like your social medias.
Oh, yeah, dude. Like
your shop, because, lad, tell them where we are here. We're in... You want to see it in here, it's sick.
We're at Tight Box Packing.
Yeah.
And, yeah, like everything's stevo.com, but we'll keep this 20 seconds to the end screen. Click to watch the Paddy interview
click
on
the
my
link,
podcast. And I'll do that on my
Yesterday I done Steve-O's podcast, and then today he's done
Yeah.
mine, so these are going to be coming out in sync. You'll be able to watch them
Right,
back
so-
to back, babosh.
Right, so if you came here from Paddy, then you go to mine, and if
Yeah.
you came from mine, you go to Paddy. We give each other our audience.
That's it. We're intertwined. We're sizzling.
That's how you build an audience, dude. It's a collab, and dude, I'm fucking proud to be bros with
Lad,
you, dude.
thank you very
We-
much
we
lad,
got-
for giving me your time, lad. I really appreciate
Oh,
it.
dude, we got to get the business of Paddy the Baddy firing. Yeah.
You
And,
know that, people. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Steve-O, for being on. See you next week.